a booty hole is not a vagina. And we have to be a little bit more sensitive and cognitive of what we're actually diving into. And it's so easy to become excited and to just want to rush in, but you can't do that with every booty hole.
When Black Ops 1 launched with Kino der Toten, it was a beloved map from the start, giving players the standard zombies experience that shows off the game for what it was. However, Kino wasn't the only map at launch. There was a second one, a different one. That map is 5.
For time and the world do not stand still. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. I said, are certain to miss the future.
5 might be one of the most controversial maps in Zombies, and the first one. It was criticized heavily for being too difficult and being too close quarters with the bare minimum to survive. However, on the other hand, a lot of people love this map for what it brings and for some of its innovations in Zombies that we've never seen again. I would describe 5 as the neglected child of Black Ops 1. Sure, it's a map that's there, and while some give it praise, the majority of people see it as a one-off map that is cool, but not enough to retain their attention. But through all of 5's controversy, today I want to discuss on what makes it so controversial, as well as if the map's hate is deserved or simply an overlooked masterpiece. When you think of 5, the first thing that comes to most people's mind is that it takes place in the Pentagon, which is also the first Zombies map that is in America, and that we play as JFK, Fidel Castro, Richard Nixon, and Robert McNamara. Yeah, anyways, this was the first time we got a celebrity cast as our playable characters. Before this, we always played as either Ultimates or Marines, so playing as real-life people as characters in Zombies was a huge change for the mode. I really enjoy when games take real-life people and put them in their game. It really just makes them more interesting. Honestly, the 5 crew at this point in the story, I think are better than Ultimates. Sure, they're both pretty one-dimensional, but the fact that they are real, important historical figures adds so much more to them. I wish we saw more maps that did this, maybe like a 5-2 or 6, where you could play as some other known people. It doesn't have to make sense, because it didn't make sense for the 5 crew to be together. Let me get a map with Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and I don't know, Vladimir Putin. Or even because Black Ops 6 is coming out, we could get a map with Saddam Hussein, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and that one woman, Margaret Thatcher? Yeah. There's a lot of potential if done correctly. Something I always liked from the 5 crew is the voice lines. They are extremely iconic and actually written well. Most of the lines do come from JFK, and for some reason, people thought he voiced himself. I don't know, maybe he got revived with 116. Anyways, this switch up of characters was refreshing and offered the possibility in the future to see more real-life people being characters in Zombies, which I think a lot of people like because of that possibility. There's also the fact that this is a real-life setting, that being the Pentagon, which was also so cool because we see it in the campaign, but don't actually get to explore it, as in campaign it's just really a long cutscene. But it is extremely cool to actually be able to explore it in Zombies, especially when it's an exclusive Zombies thing. I'm a big fan of Zombies having exclusive things. It just adds a little personality to the mode. 5 also introduces an Eminem song, Won't Back Down, as the Easter egg song, which is the first rapper and song artist outside of Treyarch to have their song in the mode. This song choice is also, very different from everything else that we've seen from Treyarch and just Zombies in general. Usually it's like that rock and roll theme, but we got something from rap, and I really appreciate that. We were also given the first buildable trap, which isn't really even buildable, but more of a pick up and play system, but it still introduced the idea. The death machine was also brought into 5 and was in every other map after this, apart from Shang, which I'm not really sure why, but if I had to guess, it's probably to do something with the issue with the monkeys being, because they changed the power-ups and death machines are a little different compared to the others. Teleporters return in 5, but act a lot differently. Derice and Kino both teleport you as a way of fast traveling or getting to Pack-a-Punch. But in 5, teleporters work by just teleporting you randomly. There's 8 teleporters, and yes, this is more, but the fact that they're just so random makes them almost useless. The only time they can be consistent is when you're Pack-a-Punching, but other than that, I really don't like the teleporters on 5. Luckily, this was fixed on Classified with the teleporter changing icons to show you where they're going to teleport to. I wish this was an original feature on 5 because I almost never use them because of how most of the time they will just lead you in a circle around the laboratory. The teleporters can be useful because sometimes, you have to wait for the elevators and no one really likes waiting for elevators, so I guess in that way it is pretty cool, but it doesn't change the fact that Man, I'm not a big fan of these teleporters. There is one more innovation on 5, and probably my favorite. The Pentagon Thief, or Yuri, if you're Mr. Waffle Waffles, is the first boss round zombie that comes in the map and will try to take your weapons away. He's technically not even a zombie. He's technically just a human, I think, unless I don't know the lore, which is entirely possible because, again, I'm not Mr. Waffle Waffles. He's such a unique boss, and the closest thing to him are the Ascension Monkeys, but he is nowhere near as bad as them. The Pentagon Thief gets even better when you're able to kill him, and he drops the most rare drop in zombies, the Bonfire Sale. He will also drop a max ammo and a regular fire sale if he's able to take your gun from you. Bonfire Sale was brought into 5 and was only seen once until its remake, and basically it's like a regular fire sale, but instead of the box being cheaper, it's the Pack-a-Punch. Every weapon being 1,000 points, and all you have to do is kill the Pentagon Thief, which honestly is not really that hard, especially when compared to the Ascension Monkeys, is what makes the Pentagon Thief possibly my favorite boss in all of zombies. I think to make the perfect boss in zombies, they need to be physically imposing and improve a threat, while also having a good reward for killing them. The Pentagon Thief does this almost perfectly by not being a bullet sponge, but is fast and will take your weapon if you're not careful, and he gives a reward as good as the Bonfire Sale and a max ammo, or a fire sale, which really you can't do much better than that. Pentagon Thief also affects the progression of the mode by either boosting it if you're able to kill him, or taking progress away if you aren't paying attention, or make a wrong move, which is very helpful on this map considering how long it even takes to turn on the power and get set up. 5 is an expensive map that requires you to open almost the entire map before you even can set yourself up. Usually in a game of zombies, your first objective is to turn on power and buy Jug, but the player is put in a weird situation on 5 because they have to spend all their points to turn on the power, and usually are only left with 2 options. Do they get a better gun than the MPL in preparation of the higher rounds in Pentagon Thief, or do you buy Jug as some type of defense, as being 2-hit is never safe no matter who you are? And I think it's here by rounds 5 through 7 where I think 5 loses a lot of players because the map just feels unfair. You're put in a position where the Pentagon Thief is coming soon, and so you have to be prepared, but going without Jug another round could be the end of the entire run. Especially if you're a new player to zombies and your first experience was Kino, coming to 5 feels like a difficulty increase that for a lot of players is not worth it. While there are fun things to the map, it's hard to overlook the difficulty, and this is just on solo. You might think playing with friends might be better, but honestly it just makes it harder. 5 is extremely cramped, and the only real area you can train is in the war room, but when 4 players are brought into the map, this strat is almost impossible and are better off camping in the elevator at spawn, even if it is extremely risky, and almost every time you try to use the elevator to escape, someone will go down. While I actually really like the design of 5 and think it looks aesthetically pleasing and makes you feel like a CIA agent, it definitely is not made for zombies. Like I said earlier, while it is cool that we got a map made out of something unused in campaign, that is fun to explore, it was clearly not designed to be a zombies map, even if it was improved and made to look more zombified. The issue is with the layout itself. Zombies maps need open space, but not too open where you feel invincible. Also, because the random teleporters getting anywhere fast is almost impossible, and you have to go back to the elevator each time, making the flow of the map not feel integrated and instead extremely artificial. We see this issue fixed on Classified with a teleporter telling you where it is, tell you where it'll take you, which is something I wish was originally on 5. I think the setting of the map is good, but the layout itself just doesn't feel like a zombies map. And speaking of atmospherically, this map is a masterpiece. Starting on the first floor in the offices, it's clear that people were recently here, with things like still smoking cigars and papers everywhere, which you can make fly if you throw grenades at it. I also like the windows on 5. It was a very cool innovation on 5, and I still wonder to this day why it was never ever brought back. Like, I like smashing the windows. At least it's unique to 5 that you can break the windows. Once you make your way to the elevator, you'll have a nice little break and are introduced to the war room, which is the cool CIA feel that everyone wants to experience when playing in a government building. You have screens everywhere with various computers and machines. A player with a keen eye may interact with the DEFCON switches that will take you to the panic room, which gives you a moment to breathe as well as giving you the ability to pack punch. Then onto the final floor, the laboratory, a very creepy and mysterious area of the map that feels different from the rest of the map. We are shown that the US government was developing things like the Death Machine, Winter's Howl, and Thundergun, but more importantly, they are experimenting on people and animals. This shows the origins of the Nova Crawlers being a cross between humans, pigs, and 115. And speaking of pigs, there is still one alive stuck in a harness and being eaten alive by flies, giving the player the ultimate question of morality. Do you kill the pig to end his suffering, or do you keep him alive so he can live as long as he possibly can? Killing the zombies is one thing, but a pig, that has to be too much, right? Personally, I love my boy Gordon, but I have to put him down down, as he does not deserve to be tortured like that. Rest in peace, Gordon. There are also 6 teleporters in the lab, which show more various experiments that were being worked on. I really like the atmosphere on 5, especially since it changes from a calm office to a spy movie, and then finally a horror setting. People always talk about Verrückt, but the stuff happening on 5, especially when it's done by the government, makes it much more mysterious about what is happening here. Unfortunately, we are blue-balled with the Thunder Gun on 5, and man, the Thunder Gun would have been perfect wonder weapon to have on 5 because all the close quarters. I would have loved to have seen Thunder Gun when training or being in the lab and flinging the hordes, making high rounds actually possible on 5 without having to use that trap, which is almost impossible to use efficiently unless you're extremely good at the game, and I am not. But instead of the Thunder Gun, we were given the Winter's Howl. The Winter's Howl is a pistol that shoots ice tornado shots at zombies and then kills them once they're completely frozen. Now, to anyone who's new to zombies, this wonder weapon sounds cool, and anyone who likes the ice staff should like this gun as well, right? Yes. Well, the issue is when Treyarch made the Winter's Howl, they drank the retard potion at 3 a.m.
Hey guys, I drank the baby potion at some point. Now it's time for the retard potion. Now that I think about it, Fortnite's actually a really good...
Wait a minute, what the fuck? It's at 150...
115? Oh my, 115?
And decided it would be a great idea to make it only one shot till round 19. Now, this wouldn't be a problem, however, the Winter's Fury only has 45 shots, so why would anyone want to use this wonder weapon when the starting pistol has more ammo? And sure, you can shoot the Winter's Howl multiple times and you can kill a horde with it, and I get that, but there's just not enough ammo. If you use the Winter's Howl for an entire round and try to kill all the zombies with it, you're gonna run out of ammo by the end of that round, which means it's only good for one round. Really, this gun is just, if you get stuck in a corner, just spam it and you'll probably live. That's the only real use I can see from it, but honestly, man, just use a different gun. Get the ray gun. I understand what Treyarch were going for, making a wonder weapon that's not as powerful but can save you, but in execution, it's like trying to tickle your pedophile uncle while he's on top of you undressing. If anything, it just makes him more in the mood. Even though the Winter's Howl is weak and the map layout isn't the best, 5 is honestly one of the most replayable maps in zombies. There's just something about when I come back to 5, spawning in the offices and building up points to make my way through the map, turning on power and slowly building up all my perks with limited resources and imminent threat that is the Pentagon Thief, making the few rounds leading up to him precious. Since he's such a threat, it makes every decision count, and while the map is not necessarily like an average zombies map, it's so unique in how it plays that it just adds so much replayability. It's almost like a campaign mission, but with limited resources that can go completely different ways depending on how you, the player, use those resources. It's very similar to Origins and the Panzer in that way, that you spend the first few rounds preparing specifically for them to spawn in because you know they are a serious threat. High rounds on 5 are interesting. If you're a player that goes for 20 to 25 rounds, 5 is a difficult challenge. But if you're a hardcore high round player, your only hope is this narrow hallway with a trap that is almost useless. For the first buildable trap and also it being the only one on the map, it is horrible. Only extremely good players are able to do this, but for me personally, you'll never catch me going for a high round on this map, like round 100. I'm not afraid to admit that this map is just too much for me. I can still enjoy the mid to late 20s of 5, and I think that's the most important thing to take into account when looking at the map for its survival aspect. I really enjoy 5's survival aspect, but it's so different from Kino, and in that way 5 complements Kino perfectly by being a more advanced map overlooked by the community. So it's that time of the video where we rank this map where it truly belongs to be, using the system called iPlacers. And for anybody who's new here and doesn't know what iPlacers is an acronym that stands for Innovation, Progression, Layout, Atmosphere, Content, Easter Eggs, Replayability, and Survival. And I rank each of these 1 through 5, totaling up to a max of 40 points, and then rank them on my tier list. So for Innovation, I give 5 a 3. I think it's pretty average innovation. It's not insane because realistically it does everything that Kino does, but it is very important to note that just look at the Pentagon Thief. For progression, I give it a 4. The progression of 5 is honestly pretty good. I don't think it's a 5 because at times there's no real wonder weapon that you're really building up to. There's really nothing you're building up to. It's just you kind of make your way through the map. It's just a problem with older maps, and not necessarily that it's bad, it's just compared to later maps, it's not perfect. The layout gets a 2. Like I said, I hate the teleporters, and there really is nowhere to train other than in the war room, and on 4-player, man, I don't even try. Atmosphere gets a 5. Probably one of my favorite atmospheres in all of zombies. Just all the different parts of the map just go so well together, and it really feels like a government facility. For content, I give it a 2. Not a lot of content, but there is a little things. I like the Winter's Howl. It is honestly, it's a cool idea for a wonder weapon, and I'm happy we got a more improved version on Origins. missions. For Easter eggs, I also give it a 2. I mean, again, there's not really a lot of Easter eggs on here. I like the pig, I like the Nova crawlers, I like all the tests you can see they're doing, I like how you can see they're experimenting, building the thunder gun. All that stuff is really cool to me. Replayability, I give a 4. I think 5 is actually extremely replayable, and I've replayed it a lot during this recording of this week. Technically, it's been like 2 now, but yeah, that's not the point. And for survival, I give it a 2. I don't think this is the greatest survival map ever, and it's just not even close. I actually think it's worse than a lot of other survival maps out there. But I still enjoy playing 5. I feel like after like 2025, the map kind of loses a lot of its appeal. For Treyarch's first attempt at a more complex map, I think 5 did a great job. While not perfect, there is a lot to love about this map, even with its imperfections. 5 was a necessary step for zombies, and without it, all maps after it that wanted to be complex would have made the same mistakes, and for that, I am thankful. I personally have a lot of attachment to 5, and I love it for what it is. Sure, it isn't the greatest map of all time, but it deserves respect for all the interesting ideas it played around with, and how well it executed them. Especially for a second launch map that was so different from what we were used to, and had its own fan base of players that love it for what it was. And so for my final ranking of 5, with a total of 24 points, right in the middle of Darius and Kino, B tier, good.